Welcome to another episode of Bowcast. This is the archery podcast with the new school archer in mind. Bowcast covers everything from tips, techniques, and archery technology that will help raise your success in the field. And now, here is your host, covering the straight shot, Carrie Zilka.
Welcome back, Bowcasters. Let's get this party started. We're kicking off the month with professional archer Jack Wallace II, and we're going to talk about how he and his wife ended up being such a cool couple who competes together. Then I'm going to see what tips he has for keeping that pin steady and making an accurate shot while under a lot of pressure. First, some really quick business. We want to thank Spy Point Trail Cameras for supporting the show. And in case you haven't seen, we have new merch available. I ordered a ton of swag. Go to bowcast.net/merch for all the goodies. Now, on to the interview. Jack, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate you taking the time. Let's introduce the listeners to you. Why don't you tell them a little bit about you, where you're from, and how you got into archery itself?
I was born in Central Ohio, and I just grew up there, like a outdoors kid, hunting and fishing and all that good stuff. I don't tell a lot of folks down here where I'm at now. Now I live about 15 minutes down the road from Clemson University. So, yeah, I am a Clemson Tiger fan, and, they're down here. They're not big fans of Buckeyes. I'm okay with that. I'm a Clemson guy now, so. I found it awesome that Dad could pick up this bow and arrow and could, hit these bullseyes with it. I'd watch him stand in the yard and practice at distance. And he was doing it, to become a better bow hunter. And thought it was really cool. He got into 3D archery tournaments. They were really big in Ohio. That was, kind of the birthplace of the IBO. And so it was when 3D was beginning and then going up through, some of its big high points. It was a great game for me to get involved with because 3D archery it's kind of a game. It's not just bullseyes or just shooting. There's things to it. And, so we shot 3D to make us better hunters and got more and more heavily involved with the tournaments. And I had good luck as a little fellow. I think I won my first state shoot when I was 9. I turned pro when I was around 18. And I was 19 or 20 when I ended up winning Shooter of the Year, and it was a cool shoot off. It was in '96 back then. There were some big sponsors in the ASA at that time. There was the NRA, Pennzoil, Miller Genuine Draft, and I ended up shooting off with one of my archery heroes for the Shooter of the Year title. There was actually, we shot hundreds of targets, thousands of points, and by the end of the year, we were dead tied to the point. And had to shoot off, and it was sudden death, and we tied and continued to tie, and it went like 5 targets, and I ended up 12 in the final target.
Oh, wow.
And that was a big thing for a 20, 21-year-old kid, whatever I was. It was a $50,000 check from the ASA.
Holy cow!
That definitely helped. That helped out for college, and then the other sponsors with their contingencies. It ended up being a great weekend and a great year, and really a great start to my pro career. So that's kind of where it started, where it began. As I got older, it just kind of sucked trying to practice for 3D in the north. And when I grew up and became a big boy, I decided for the training, for the practice and everything, it'd be better to live someplace where you can shoot year round. So looked at a lot of different areas, and I ended up here in the upstate of South Carolina. I'm 2.5 hours south of the Smoky Mountain National Park and about 3 hours in from Myrtle Beach. So it's a pretty good location. Great practice. It's hunt, fish, shoot your bow. You do whatever year round. So it's pretty great.
That's really cool.
As far as wifey,
how'd you meet her?
I knew of Sharon. I knew of her for like 9 years, and I didn't speak 9 words to her in 9 years. My sister was a professional shooter. Her name was Gina, and she had won like every national world title you could win in the IBO and the ASA, and ended up getting married and wanting to start a family and, focus more on her career. And she stepped away from pro 3D archery, but she shot against Sharon. Yeah, I knew of her, and like a lot of folks, I went through a divorce. Had a buddy call me up, and I was driving down the road. He wanted to give me a pep talk, about divorce and women and all that, and I totally wasn't in the mood.
Right.
And he said, really, you ought to ask that Sharon out. Yeah, that Sharon, she's cool. She's pretty girl. You ought to ask her out. I'm like, man, you're a nutbag. She lives like 2 states away. She's busy, and she's got her horse farm and all this other stuff. Yeah, you're nuts. I'm getting off of something. So I pulled into a gas station, and I ran in there to grab a Coke, and I thought, I don't need all the sugar. I'll grab one of these Coke Zero things. So at the time, they had names, like people's names, first names wrote on the bottles. So I just grabbed a bottle. I wasn't paying attention. I'm driving on the road drinking this bottle of Coke Zero, and I look down, it says Sharon.
Shut up.
And
Are you serious?
I'm telling you the truth. And I looked up, and I said, all right, God, I get it. Apparently, I'm supposed to reach out to this person. So I sent her a message on Facebook. We started talking on Facebook, and then phone calls, and she invited me down to Halloween Horrors, kind of a grown-up scary deal at Orlando Studios down there. And that was kind of fun. It was cool, and that was basically our first date. And, we got engaged, I don't know, about a year later, and got married in 2014. And I'm sorry, 2017. We got married October 14th of 17.
Oh, wow.
That's our anniversary. So it was super cool to meet somebody that was in the game that was as serious about it as I was. And you don't always find a lot of women that are super competitive, that want to win. But
sure.
I remember one of our first hunts. We got to the cabin. There was a dartboard. We looked at each other, dropped all of our junk, ran over, grabbed the darts, started throwing darts. I mean, it's a neat way to train, to shoot against each other, and to push each other. I do all the work on the equipment, and kind of laying out the strategies and the game plan and all that. And but it's awesome. I absolutely love it. I think. I couldn't have wished for nothing more.
That is
She's
awesome.
My favorite student.
Oh, what fun. So do you guys ever compete against each other on a professional level? Well, I mean, usually I'm assuming you usually compete against guys, girls, whatever.
We've got our own classes.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a pro female class, so she'll shoot against the professional females, and then there's men's pro, and I'll shoot against the men's pro classes. And depending on your organization, there may be a different name for it, but it's basically the same. If I'm at the IBO, it's called PMR, Pro Male Release. If I'm at the ASA, it's Open Pro. For her, it's PRF, Pro Release Female in the IBO, or in the ASA, it's just Women's Pro. But we do love, it keeps us traveling. Every 2 weeks, we're somewhere in the nation, shooting one of these games. And I enjoy the indoor stuff. I think it's great for the mind. I think it's great for your shot and the physical side and your nerves and training. But I don't get super serious about the indoor stuff. I like to just make sure that my bow can do it. When I know that my equipment can shoot those clean rounds, I'm happy. I'm keeping all my focus on the 3D animals, judging the distance, learning to aim off and then reference everything. And again, all that has made me a better hunter. And that's, I've taken some of the good animals that I have, whether it was, whitetail or elk or mule deer or whatever. I think that's absolutely has helped.
That's cool. Very, very, very cool. Do you have like a favorite tournament that you just look forward to every year? Just out of curiosity, there's so many of them. I'm just wondering. Like
there are a couple.
I have a music podcast, and sometimes I'll ask, what's your favorite place, venue, and they're always like, oh yeah, it's definitely this one. And I'm wondering if archers have favorite tournaments to shoot in as well.
They absolutely do.
Okay.
They absolutely do. Mine is usually the World Championships each year. So that'd be the IBO World Championships or the ASA. They call it, the ASA World Classic. I mean, that's the biggest tournament for the IBO. It's the biggest tournament for the ASA. I enjoy both of those very much. They're the last two big 3D tournaments of the year where all the titles are decided. I enjoy them. Single tournaments, I enjoy Metropolis, Illinois a lot, and a lot of people don't like that event. I like it because it's always crazy hot. It's like triple digits with the heat index. The shots are normally long. They're tough. It's varied lighting. And, it's just not fun for a lot of people. But it's in a cool location. It's right on the southern tip of Illinois, across the river from Paducah, Kentucky. And there's fun stuff there. It's a metropolis. I mean, it's the city of Superman. And, you got a gambling casino there and nice places to stay, good food. So I enjoy that one as far as a single leg tournament, but the championships are always nice.
That's cool. So, as a hunter, do you do much of the tournament shooting in the fall then, or does the bow hunting kind of take precedence?
It takes precedence then. Our normal 3D shooting seasons usually kick off beginning of February, and then they'll run to the end of August. They're kind of staying away from hunting season so that because they know when the fall hits, people are gonna they're gonna be in the woods chasing stuff. So
sure,
that's the normal season, basically about a 6-month season. And now there is a lot of indoor tournaments, and then we do go to some of them. Some of them I enjoy very much, like the Lancaster Archery Classic. Great tournament, probably the best run, most enjoyable. I mean, Vegas is the biggest. Normally we'll do Vegas each year, and stuff like the Indoor Nationals. Our national championship of indoors. Sharon has been working harder at those games. She enjoys the heck out of them. She's taken second in Vegas. She's made the Lancaster Classic Final Four shoot-off a couple times, and she just won the NFA Indoor Nationals this season, and she tied the U.S. national record. So,
holy cow!
She's got a pretty good indoor career going, along with
that's really impressive.
Her 3D, and she capped a great weekend off last weekend. At the IBO World Championship, she ran a sweep. She ended up winning the national championship, Triple Crown last month. She won Shooter of the Year, final eye there at the World, and then she ended up winning the World Championship title.
Wow.
She had a great weekend last weekend. I'm fortunate. I was happy to be able to pull off IBO Shooter of the Year, and that's just simply every IBO tournament. So that's the Winter Nationals, the Spring Nationals, all 3 legs of the Triple Crown National Championship circuit, and then you're allowed to drop one of those as your low score or a missed tournament, but your World Championship score must count. And when they totaled the points up, I was able to capture it this year. So that was very nice.
That was very cool. What do you think is your favorite species to go chase after? Do you have like a favorite?
Elk.
Is it?
Elk, without a doubt. Yeah.
A lot of people say that.
Yeah, it is, just because it's such a great, big, huge, beautiful, majestic creature. You're chasing him in the rut, and it's almost like chasing 1,000-pound turkeys with horns.
Right.
And,
right.
If a person likes turkey hunting, they'd love elk hunting. And the meat is incredible. We eat all the elk that we take, and it lasts the two of us a while. It's definitely the most enjoyable. Whitetail is a completely different game. I hunt whitetail more relaxing. That's more my vacation getaway, to go and just relax in the tree and just enjoy the sounds and just the scenery, the colors, and just take it all in. That's more of a stress relief, more of a peace time. Trying to play chess with the whitetail and trying to pick a particular animal out, be able to make that really important shot that you've been thinking about. Mm-hmm. I call it the meaningful shot. You work really hard, you train to be able to make that special kind of shot.
Sure. That's fun. I'm so excited for fall to get here. I'm so done with summer already. Oh.
That's actually... when it comes to like what you right now, it's sweltering hot down here in the South, right? And we're okay with that just because our ASA World Classic is going to be at Fort Benning, Georgia. It'll be triple digits. It's the last weekend of August. And so we're training for that. We're shooting our rounds in midday, the highest heat index, and we're trying to get our minds and bodies prepared for it. We're a week and a half out, we're already, pre-hydrating and trying to check every box mentally so that we know that when the time comes, we can be as automatic as we can be and make, whatever shot's meaningful to us. And when I'm teaching or coaching or people come for lessons or whatever, that's one of the questions I get asked the most. There's usually questions about either target panic or practice or training, but they're like, well, what about in those important shots when I'm nervous, when it's, the last target to shoot or a shoot down target, or maybe it's hunting and it is that big buck.
Yeah.
It's the one they got on trail camera. It's the one they chased for, years. And I'll give them like two thoughts on it. My two theories on that. One's basically mental, and the other one is kind of physical. Part of my thoughts on it physically, I used to lift, and I'd tax my muscles, and then I would go shoot my indoor rounds. I was trying to do that to see more movement in my sight picture, to feel weaker, to feel more shaky on purpose. I was trying to do that to teach my eyes to see more movement and to open up. Normally, if you're used to holding on a golf ball, now you went and lifted, you're holding on a, softball. You're holding on a soccer ball. When I got my eyes used to the fact that different excitement levels, different adrenaline levels would make more movement in your pin, your body, your heart rate, I was trying to get myself used to that and just accept it. You can do the same thing like when Sharon will be getting ready for an elk hunt. I want her to be able to make that shot. She may run around the house a couple times, do a couple burpees, grab her bow, shoot our elk target. I always want to try to train harder and a little more intense than what it's actually going to be. And that way when I'm there and it happens, it's easier. Practice hard and shoot easy. That's one little hint, I could give people as far as trying to, make yourself physically right. As far as the mental side, mentally being right. That guy we described, who's got trail camera pictures of the biggest buck he's ever seen, and he's chased him for years, and that he's sitting in his stand one day, and that deer finally comes in, and he's finally going to get his shot opportunity. He starts thinking. He starts thinking about, wow, it's going to happen. I'm finally going to get him. I'm going to drive him around, show all my buddies. I'm going to take him to the taxidermist. I wonder when I'll get him back. I wonder how much he'll cost. What wall of the house is wifey going to let me put him on? Do you see at that moment he's gotten out of the present?
Yeah.
I tried to. He didn't just get a minute or two out of the present. He got like 9 months, a year ahead out of the present. He's thinking about what wall of the house he's going to hang the deer on. I mean, and that's because that's a meaningful shot to him. So when I'm working with people, what I want people to think about is, you should think about, to hit what you want to hit, you want to be able to repeat. And you want to repeat the meaningful shot. Everybody can say, oh, I hit a Coke can once 100 yards. Well, can you do it again?
Yeah.
And can you do it when it counts? So I try to tell people, understand it's repeat the meaningful shot. And the only way you can do that is to stay in the present. You cannot let your mind run out to the future. You're not necessarily going to control your pin's movement. You can't control the wind, so you're not going to make the wind stop if it's a little breezy when you're shooting. And, you can only do so many exercises and so many breathing techniques to try to slow your heart rate down, which you should try. But there's only so steady you're going to make your bow. You can try stabilizers. You can add more mass weight to your bow. It's going to get your jiggles down to a little more of a minimum. But at the end of the day, it's going to come down to how you think. And you got to find a way to stay in the present, stay very process focused, stay focused on setting your grip, stay focused on making sure your bow's at full draw. You've got the proper anchor. You think about wherever, your nose is on the string or your peep sight alignment or whatever you got to do. And think about them in steps and stages, almost like you're checking them off a list, and it'll keep your mind occupied. It'll keep your mind busy so that little guy that sits on your shoulder, who's always trying to help you, doesn't tell you, get a pin on him, punch it now, or he's always trying to talk to you and help you. But in reality, that little guy, that little conscious thinking mind guy, he's the one that gets us in trouble. Your subconscious is perfect. You're holding steady enough. Just shoot through the movement. You shoot through the movement, you shoot through the shakes. Never take your eyes off what you want to hit. That's probably the biggest key. Never take your eyes off what you want to hit, because your pin will always come back to it. It's like a magnet. It's like the seeking center principle that they teach offhand rifle shooters. It's the same thing.
That's interesting. That's very, very cool tips. Very, very. I guess I never really thought about the whole eye thing. Like when you're riding a horse, riding a motorcycle, anything you're doing that has directional focus, they always say the minute you move your head that way or your eyes that way, everything else follows. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I never really thought about it that way.
Never take your eyes off what you want to shoot. Yeah, your correction's already good enough. Like, you're not going to draw your bow back and then point the bow out in the yard and aim at a tree somewhere. Wherever you look is where it goes.
Right.
And it's where it's sad to tease guys and poke fun of your buddies, but it's just like that occasional bow hunting buddy that hits a deer in the rack where we know what he was looking at. Yep. I mean, it's the same thing. Yep. Instead, never take your eyes off what you want to hit. Let the pin have its motion. Let it have its movement, and learn to shoot and execute a good shot through the movement. And the results will be much better.
Awesome. Excellent, excellent advice. I appreciate you sharing that with us here in Bowcast land. So, Jack, tell me, why don't you give the listeners and I a rundown on your equipment, what you use, what you love about them, just all the fun stuff that you use.
Okay. I'll give you a little bit about some of the stuff I use in 3D and target, and then maybe just a touch on the hunting, because I do like chasing critters too, and it all kind of relates. PSE Archery. The wifey and I both shoot for PSE. Been with them several years. I'm really, really happy about that decision, because they make so many different models, so many different axle lengths and brace heights. They can fit different people's body types. They've got a lot of cam styles for your fit and your feel. To me, the most important thing is they're adjustable. Each cam has an adjustable module. You can just turn to whatever draw length you need. Cams can adjust side to side, left to right. You can adjust the cable guard. So basically, the bow, you can make it fit you, your arrow combination. They hold well, they point well, they tune. So they're absolutely doing their job. They're doing their part. So I love PSE Archery. They're our biggest sponsor. Arrows, Black Eagle. I know the company owner. He's a great guy. I'm a big fan of Black Eagle because they make so many different diameters and different spines. So they will actually tune. You can bare shaft tune them, fletch them up and tune them. Big fan of Black Eagle. And they own Conquest stabilizers. We run Conquest bars. True Ball Excel, sights and releases. Rogue bowstrings. They really take care of us. I think a lot of people, they never think about their bowstring. It kind of needs to stay put. I need that bowstring to not stretch, not move, and I need the peep to not rotate. I need it to do its job. And really impressed with Rogue. They've got a great team, and they've got some professional shooters working for them that know what it takes. Hamsky Archery, as far as our arrow rest, they have really pioneered the fall away and so many different blade options to get the right kind of tune out of the system. So I like the guys over there at Hamsky. Tack vanes, it's incredibly stiff. It's the stiffest vane I've ever used while still being super lightweight. So it is the quietest when it comes to chasing critters or trying to make long distance shots or, antelope or whatever else. I want that vane to do its job, and it needs to be stiff, strong, light, tack vanes do it. Scope-wise, we run Bowfinger scopes. Really high-quality machining, really good pins. So super impressed with their scopes. Swap broadheads. Military-owned company. He used to be a professional shooter, and I've known that owner a long time. He's a great guy. A lot of options out of Swap broadheads. Camouflage is True Timber, and a lot of your fans probably already know True Timber. They're
Sure.
the official camo, Bass Pro and Cabela's and all that stuff. They got a million patterns. They definitely got a pattern that you could use to go out and chase something. So, love True Timber. When I'm ordering and buying, I try to support the local mom and pop shops, and that's great. If they don't have what you need and they can't get it in time, Lancaster Archery Supply is one of our sponsors, and they're the world's largest target archery distributor. They may very well have it in stock and can get it to me quick. So those guys really do a lot for us, and I appreciate it, very, very much.
That's awesome. That's a really great list. And I'm sure a lot of the listeners will be like, oh yeah, I shoot that too. Oh yeah, I have those too. So very, very, very cool. Han, I really, really appreciate you taking the time to come on to Bowcast. For the listeners, they can find the show notes at bowcast.net. Why don't you share with the listeners where they can find more about you and follow along on your professional journey?
The wife and I both have our personal Facebook page. Mine's just Jack Wallace II. Hers is Sharon Wallace. And then we've got our athlete pages. Sharon Wallace Pro Archer and Jack Wallace II Archery. And we try to keep up with our sponsors the best way we can and try to keep the photos up and all that good jazz.
Excellent. I will tag the Facebook pages in the show notes for the episode so people can find you easier.
I appreciate it.
Cool. Thank you so much again.